Hello and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host, Bryan. We're going to do a special selection, which is where one of you tell me exactly what it is I need to check out. Today's comes at us from Alexander. Special Selections requests a song, Cipater, from the artist Autechre, off of the album Chiastic Slide from 1997. So that's what we're checking out today. Let's dive right into it and see what Autechre is bringing to the table today. Very gross sound though. It sounds like a drain right at the end where the liquid is beginning to completely empty and you kind of get some of the air bubbling up against the liquid. That, whatever that is. I'm trying to stop. Jeez, I can't even talk. I'm focusing on it. I don't want to. I'm not enjoying it. I do kind of like the lick where it's going. I mean, like everything else though, it's a loop, it's a cycle, but it feels like it's building the atmosphere towards something that seems interesting. Played around with the I was gonna say they played around with the rhythmic elements. So they're focusing on okay, I see where we're at now. It's kind of, there's a very strange accent pattern though. My initial hypothesis right here is deconstruction. We're going to see how far that goes. Oh, okay. That's a fun evolution. It's a very rhythmic section though, and I'd love to bring a melody back somewhere. Yeah, the little klaxon alarm over here, plus that, the tones in this song are driving me bonkers. I think there's some neat ideas here, but they could have chosen less abrasive sounds, I think. I didn't have a headache when I started this reaction. Yeah, I'm kidding there. I do have a headache, but it's probably from a lack of sleep, which was also that yawn about half a minute ago. Not about the music. I want to say the music's boring. It's not my cup of tea. It uses sounds I don't like in the type of repetition. I think they would be fine in isolated segments. but I would not call it boring. Not by any stretch of that definition. And primarily because it's it's rhythmically interesting. I think I really like this song from an exercise perspective. On paper, the sheet music of the polyrhythms is probably very interesting to look at, but that's sort of where the end of my subjective interest is. I'm trying to find another perspective, right? Of appreciation, because this is what I like to do on the channel, right? Not everything clicks with me. I'll tell you why, but I want to praise the things that I think they did well, even if I didn't enjoy it. And that usually requires an ability to see from someone else's perspective, from another point of view. And I'm having a very tough time with this one. I don't know if it's. Maybe it's just me being tired. I think I did a pretty good job with the last track, though, with Cipater earlier today. I don't know. Maybe it's just the song. Maybe it's so far outside of my realm, I don't have the vocabulary. Not only just to express it, but to understand it. Anyways, I want to start with the rhythm. There are some bonkers ideas in here. And it's not just a single instrument. In fact, I'd say aside from that one melody riff loop that we had at the beginning, there really isn't a lot of melody in here. We had an inkling of it, something that was kind of like what we had at the beginning show up at the end on the pluck string instrument, but that never quite hit the same level of melody. It was a melodic idea. It did focus on changing pitches, but not quite in the linear way that the first one did. Yeah, all I don't know 6 beats that it used in its loop in its little phrase. I mean, it wasn't really melodic either. It's a short little lick, but yeah, compared to what we had at the end, I mean, it was so much larger in its melodic capacity. So, like I said, other than that one idea we have at the beginning, we don't really have anything else in here that focuses on moving pitches in the same way. Everything in here comes down to rhythm. Everything is focused on generally one, maybe two pitches and the changing rhythms between them, and not just in isolation. If you look at any individual idea, you're not going to find a lot of rhythmic diversity to it. It's when you bring everything together and you get this compound rhythm, like a Hocket for rhythmic information, that you find the groove, the shifting accent points, how all of these different rhythms interlocking to this complex idea. And not just that, but the way that it shifts. My understanding of the rhythmic flow of the groove of the song was upended at several points in this song when something new was added to the formula. It is wildly interesting. And I've talked about this with Autechre before. They are rhythmic artists. They know how to manipulate time and groove in a way like very few others. Part of it is just going to be their skills, right? They're just really good at this. But I think another part is how they restrict themselves. I haven't listened to a lot of Autechre. This might be the 4th or 5th song I've heard from them. It's not a lot. It's a drop in the bucket compared to all the music they've created. But they tend to not really be too focused on melody. I talk about this in a lot of their music, how they lean into this rhythmic side, and putting that restraint on themselves and allowing them to create something that might not be widespread catchy mainstream music and focusing on what they want to do probably helps them lean into some more chaotic rhythmic ideas. And so a little bit is skill set and a little bit is limitation, but when they come together, you end up creating some really neat rhythmic ideas. But as far as I'm concerned, that's the end of it. And this is why I'm like, as I feel like I say this every time we have Autechre on the channel. I'm looking forward to the comments to see other people's perspective on this song, because there's no harmony in here. There's exceptionally light melody, and then there's texture work, the timbres of instruments. I've kind of already expressed a little bit on that. Y'all know I'm not a fan of the sounds they used here. So it's just a rhythmic song, and so I have to ask, does that carry it? And I don't think so. My interest certainly waned around, I don't know, 6 minutes into the song, as they solidified themselves into this second rhythmic idea. And while they did create some more variation on it, adding and removing layers, we never really had a shift that made me reevaluate or recontextualize a rhythm or a rhythmic pattern that they had introduced. And so that's why I called it a neat exercise, something I would like to see the sheet music for as far as rhythmic ideas, but not something that I think comes together as a song, because subjectively it's missing some very key components: harmony and melody. But again, that's subjective, and that's where another perspective comes in. That's why it's difficult for me to, I think, find that positive angle for appreciation on this track, is simply because it's missing too many of the things that I really need in music to get it. I don't think I've said that in that, that concise of a phrase before, but it's true. Groove and melody are so important, and this has half of that, which means it's missing the other half of the equation, and to me it feels unfinished. This feels like something you would give someone to say, hey, what could I put on top of this? Or hey, you got a melody line that you think would fit with this, and something to flesh it out, to take it from a very solid foundation into a song proper, right? And yeah, I could absolutely put a really cool melody on top of this. It would cease being Cipater, though. I've said this before. I have recommendations or things in my head that I would have done in an artist's shoes. And I always say too that it's a lot easier to come at stuff in hindsight after it's been done. Oh, I would have done it this way. Yeah, things are easier to see after it's been finished, right? But also, I have a very different approach to music writing than them too. So, no way am I saying that I would improve the song. I would just improve it for me as an audience. It's a very specific goal, a very niche goal, I might add, that other people might also enjoy it more, but like I said, by no means would make it better across the board. So I just want to put that disclaimer out there. I'm not saying they made a bad song. I'm just nowhere near the target audience, and I feel like there's a lot of room to make me the target audience in this. But again, that changes what the song is. Textures, tones, boy, oh boy. There's some real southern stuff coming out. Hot Jiminy Jam! This song was not for me. Nah, it's dang dude. That klaxon sound, it didn't start out getting on my nerves. Dang, the southern's really coming out, man. But it did by the end of the song, and I just could not deal with it. I've used this metaphor before. If you have dealt with kids, whether they're your own or niece, nephew, or maybe you're a babysitter, I don't know, maybe you're a teacher. And you just hear the same thing over. Dad, 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 daddy, daddy, dad, hey, dad, hey. Dude, I tell you, man, it just gets on your nerves. It gets on my nerves, at least. And I've seen enough jokes about it that I think that it's a bit more of a universal experience than just something that I've dealt with. So yeah, that's what the klaxon begins to sound like. That's what the cowbell begins to sound like. And they just reach this point of sheer annoyance. And I don't know what it is about the klaxon either. As an alarm type of synth tone, it's kind of muted. It's kind of pushed into the mix. It really isn't that alarming. It's not that prominent of a sound. The cowbell cuts through everything. It is a piercing tone. That makes perfect sense to me. That needed to be rounded off and brought down into the mix a little bit, softened up somehow. But the alarm sound, honestly, I don't know why it stood out to me so much. It was a cool rhythm too. It brought in a triplet polyrhythm against the backbeat. I mean, it was one of the cooler rhythms in the song that we got in the back half. It's just the tone of it, man. I don't know. I don't even know what I would do to fix it, or to change it, or to soften it, or make it more digestible for me. But between the two of those, my brain just really started to like reject the song. The sounds would come in, and my brain would immediately go, "Nope, that's trash information. You don't need to worry about it." And just reject it. And you know, I was definitely disconnected from the last 90 seconds of this song. I came back in when I noticed that the alarm was gone and the cowbell was gone, and we just had like two things going on in those last 15 seconds or so. But it was the same two things I had heard for like 5 minutes, so I wasn't too engaged with that either. We had reached the point where we stopped doing variations on ideas and instead were just removing layers, and that took, I think, way too long as well. The ending could have been shored up by 20, 30, 40 seconds and really tighten the ending up into something a bit more enjoyable instead of the slow release that it was. And maybe the slow release is the point. What is the overarching narrative to this thing? Honestly, I can't tell you. I have no idea. To me, this just sounds like danger. All right, this is listening to somebody talk and red flags going off left and right, and you're like, I have to get away from this dude, or I'm gonna end up, murdered tonight. I don't know. That might be a bit extreme. It's just like every 5 seconds a new sound pops up that it goes against the song, which is cool, right? The polyrhythmic aspect. I do like that, but there are disruptive rhythms to this song, or it's a sound that cuts through everything and just it demands attention again. I don't that's honestly the best story narrative I have for this song. It's like I said, it feels like an exercise to me. It doesn't quite click into something larger, into art. And that's why I need other perspectives. Those are my thoughts on Autechre's Cipater, whatever it's called. What did you think of this song? If you didn't like it, you agree with some of my talking points, let me know. Sometimes it's nice just to know I'm not in the minority. I know as a critic, I have opinions on stuff that isn't always shared with the larger community. Sometimes it's just nice to know, hey, I'm not just being hard on it. This is a tough thing to get into. But I also really want to see the other side of the spectrum of people who dig this. Let me know what it is about it that clicks with you. Let me know how you feel about the song, what it makes you feel, how your interpretation of it. What is the story that's told through all of these sounds? You know? Because I got nothing on that. And I would love to know why people come back to this, because at this point in time, if I discovered this on my own, just a random YouTube recommendation in my feed or something, I'm like, oh, what is this? Autechre. Oh, it looks cool. And then I heard this, I'd be like, I never have to listen to this group again. It's just it fails to click with me in so many ways, and I'd like to, get a different perspective on that, different point of view. Um, Above the comment section in the description box, you'll find a link to Linktree. It takes you here. You can find links to my music, ways to support the channel, a link to the Discord server, and so much more. Above that, if you could, like, subscribe, and ring the bell. I greatly appreciate all three of those. That wraps it up for today, but I'll be back tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 p.m. UTC as usual. Until next time, remember to be critical, not cynical, of the music you listen to, and have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening, whenever you choose to watch my videos.